Welcome back to RainBro Crafts. My name is Colton, and today we have a little bit of a different video for you. We actually participated in a soap making demonstration for First Friday back in December, at the first Friday in December, and this was actually an event hosted by the Vancouver Farmers Market. So we were asked to make some soap for a live demonstration, and people could come through and see how we do our thing and ask us questions and all of that kind of fun stuff. So we are set up here in the back room of the Slocum House, which is in downtown Vancouver, and it's actually the main headquarters of the Vancouver Farmers Market. I did film 3 different soaps, but some of the footage was not the best. We had this set up on the top of a sink in the kitchen area, and people kept walking through. So I'm just going to make for you one of the soaps, and then I'll also have a soap cutting here as well. If you have seen our Nessie soap making video, and I'll put a link in the corner there for ya. But if you've seen that video, you may have actually seen a very similar setup, because we did cut one of the soaps, that Nessie soap here as well. This soap I'm making is actually our Bergamot and Blood Orange. Zac is filming. He filmed this for the live on Instagram, for our live on Instagram. And then I filmed this for the YouTube video. We did have a couple people trickle through. The thing with this is that it was an open house style, so it was a little challenging to know when people were going to show up. And soap making is quick, but also it takes a long time. The actual hands-on part of soap making takes, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes. But the prep time and the cooling time and the curing time make the whole process take a lot longer. And the part with this is you can't make a soap that day, at least cold process, and then have someone cut it that day in person, because it's just not going to be ready. So we made 3 different soaps here this day, and then the day before we actually made 3 other of our essentials collections and then kind of matched them. So this Bergamot Blood Orange, we had Lavender, which Kristi's Lavender Field is a very similar design to this, so people could see what a drop swirl looked like when you did that. That was kind of the best way we could think about this. The other thing to note with this event is that since it was in December, we didn't want to make a whole bunch of soap and then sit on the soap for January and maybe February, just because we don't have a ton of events, and just having inventory and stock is not the best use of product or space. So while I've been gabbing here, I have been bringing that signature oil blend and the lye water and colloidal oatmeal to a light trace. Zac, while I'm doing this, is explaining to the audience what I'm doing. I did have great big plans of being able to talk and do at the same time, and it didn't work out that way. I kind of get in a soap making zone, and I'm just fixated on getting the soap done, following the steps. Not that it's challenging, not that I don't know what I'm doing, but it's a task, and I'm just checking it off the list of things to do. And that sounds very clinical and not creative. It is creative. This soap in particular is one that we make all the time, so it's kind of autopilot at this point. So now that soap batter is to a consistency that we are looking for, I'll pour off about 2/3 of it into the slab mold, and I'm going to let that sit for a minute because it needs to set up. I had pre-batched the orange mica that we use for colorant in some of the soap base oil, and just had that whisked together, and now we're going to incorporate that into the remaining 1/3 of our soap base here really quickly. It doesn't take a whole lot. I do use the stick blender for this as well, just because it's the easiest and quickest. One thing about this setup, and we didn't realize it until we were there, this isn't our table, and it's so much lower than our workbench that we use. Our workbench is countertop height, and this is dining table height, and so I'm hunched over the table which is kind of like putting me off my game a little bit. I do have slightly better posture than what is shown in this camera. Not much better, slightly better though. And then we'll do some drop swirls with this colored soap base. Just 3 quick ones, a front and a backwards. And then the remaining soap batter, we will get our scraper there and just drizzle it on the top to give a little bit of extra color interest. This was a very fun event. It wasn't super popular. The weather was really gross outside, and all of the different art vendors, installations, whatever you'd like to call them, were very spread out. And so people are having to walk between buildings as it was pouring rain and cold outside. I think this would have been a better attended event if it wasn't so crummy outside when we did this. But showing how we make our soap in person was fun, because that's not something that normally happens. Normally the audience is myself, maybe Zac, or myself and the dogs. And there's not actual other people watching, asking questions, those sorts of things. So now we're just letting the soap thicken up a little bit so I can do some nice swoops. I'm cleaning up the table, which again is something that I'm not 100% used to. Not that I'm a messy soaper by any stretch of the imagination, but I have tools kind of spread out all over the place, and I wanted it to look a little bit neat for the audience members. We were also concerned about people getting soap batter on them. So you'll see that blue line on the right side of this screen under that power outlet there. And that was our like splash zone, if you will. I do think that was a little overcautious, but we didn't want to have people get raw soap batter on them because it's not super comfortable. You can neutralize the lye with some vinegar, but we don't want to get anyone splashed or oily or anything like that. If we did do another kind of in-person seminar thing, I do think having a time where it's like, we're going to start making soap at 7 o'clock and maybe 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock or whatever, and have people like sign up for it would be a little bit better, just so you weren't like kind of waiting and then maybe one person would show up and then you would want to wait a little bit more to see if more people would show up, because you kind of want to see the whole soap making experience. But like I said, it is really like 15 minutes of hands-on time. And then we have waited just long enough to get some nice swoops there. So I'm going in with our soap spoon to do our signature little top design for our essentials collection, which the bergamot and also the lavender are part of. Also, if we did this again, we would have stuff for sale. This was maybe an oversight. We also didn't know what the vibe of the event was going to be, but people wanted to buy the soap we made, and obviously you can't sell the soap because it's still liquid, and the soap that we cut that night wouldn't be ready to use for another month. So we should have brought a little bit of each scent, just so people could maybe buy them if they weren't able to come to the market. And then here are a few audience members who were wanting to check out the spoon swoops. They were very interested, and actually the person holding the child there, I have them come up and slice some of the lavender soap. I want to say they were the only ones who actually wanted to participate. I did ask every group, and I didn't have a ton of volunteers, which was fine. They all seemed very hesitant, but the slicing and stuff, especially for these, is very easy, very hard to actually mess up, which they didn't want to do. Doing this sort of an event kind of was like being on a really low budget version of like a cooking television show, because we had like all this stuff set up and ready to go and pulling it out from different locations. But it's not our normal setup, so everything was a little bit all over the place. The soap cutter was behind me. The like gloves were on the counter to the right of me. We also had to set it all up, which normally TV shows have assistants or production assistants or whatever to help with that. So we didn't have any of that. Very low budget. And then we will use our slab splitter here, and if you've watched our videos, you've definitely seen us do this before. We're just breaking down our slab into 3 loaves of soap, which is one of the funner parts to see. And the cutting is also one of the funner parts to see and participate in because it's the most satisfying. And you can actually see the finished product more or less. And I do wish I had audio that I could hear. The GoPro that we used to film does have a microphone, but it sounded kind of like garbage. So I don't remember what we were talking about there. I think they had asked what we do with the thin sliver at the end, which is normally what people ask about, but I'm not 100% sure. And here I was trying to convince people to volunteer to cut the soap. I was really trying my hardest to get people kind of involved in the process. This is the safest part of the soaping process because you're not going to hurt your hands or get like a lye burn or anything like that from this kind of soap, unless maybe you're trying to use it and then it's going to make you tingle. But there's a lot less stuff to mess up or wound yourself with at this stage in the game than throughout the whole rest of the process here. I also wish I would have had like a participation prize for this person, but we hadn't planned on having anyone participate in any part of the instructional demonstrations except myself and Zac, so I didn't even think anything of it. And then the final process here that I'm demonstrating is just how we cut our new tester bars. If you've been to any of our in-person events in December, maybe November, you will have seen these. They're just 1 ounce little kind of like soap columns that we now use as testers instead of the end cuts that were a little too thin and kind of got used up too quickly. And so we're explaining that changeover because I do think these people have been to our booth at the normal farmers market before. They look very familiar. And then there's people on the side of the camera that you can't see as well that had been to our booth before. So we were explaining that. And then I'm explaining here how we reuse the soap cuttings that we do not sell, at least in this form, and how we kind of reincorporate those into a new bar of soap, which we have a couple new designs and scents and things like that for the upcoming 2024 year, so stay tuned for those. But that is it. That was our first ever in-person soap making demonstration. If you do want to support the channel, we do have a subscription service where you can get candles of the month. Thanks Susie S for being our first ever Big Ol' Flamer, our candle subscription, and all of our foamy homies and our study buddies who get soaps of the month, discount codes, and other fun perks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see what RainBro Crafts comes up with next. Bye.